What's up guys, my name is Ryan45678 and welcome back to the Edger Bike project. In this video we're going to be preparing the frame to be painted. I know last time I said I was probably going to get everything finalized first, but I figured that because it would take so much effort to put everything on, take it off, then paint it, then put everything on and finalize it, I'm just going to paint the frame first. So as you can see, I've already done some. I got a grinding wheel out, ground down some of the uglier weld. Then I took a flap disc sander, which I didn't really need that a whole lot because the grinder can do pretty much the same thing. And lastly, I took a wire wheel, and I spent let's see, a good part of maybe an hour or 2 hours doing that yesterday, and this is the result. Obviously, I left it overnight, so there's a little bit of rust. I'll have to get that off again, but that's the majority of what I'm going to be doing to this. Because look at that. This is how much I've done, and that's how much I have left to do. So hopefully we'll be able to paint this thing today, or at least prime it, because I don't want it to rust again, because then it's more work. So areas like this, I'll probably have to get a wire brush, hand wire brush, and get it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, in between, I'm going to be doing some Bondo. This is bad Bondo. I had to buy some more. This is like 8 years old. But what I'm going to be doing is filling in holes like this that don't really need to be holes, because I don't want them to be holes. I want it to just be a solid piece. So all the holes like that, and some of the ugly welds I might fill in, like this one, and I'll sand that down, and then I'll prime it, and then paint it. I'm thinking about sanding in between every step. So primer, sand it. Base coat, sand it. More base coat if needed, sand it. Until I get the color and look I want, and then clear coat. And probably several layers of clear coat before I sand those, just because there's no reason to in between. Maybe I'll do the same with base coat, I don't know. I'll at least let it dry. So that's actually going to take a long time, but not much effort. So yeah, I'll get to work on this, start wire brushing it away, and I'll update you guys as I go along. I'll just show you really quick a few times just to show you what I'm doing. Oh yeah, and before we get started, don't forget to leave a like on the video if you do end up enjoying it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more projects like this. And as always, there are affiliate links in the description below if you want to support the channel. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so now that I've got pretty much all the little pieces of rust off that formed overnight, I'll start working on parts that need to be wire wheeled until they look like this. So I'll just kind of show you what I do. It's not the way to do it, it's a way to do it. It's the way I just kind of figured out. This one hasn't really been done. Neither of these have really been done. So I'll just show you this. So yeah, as you can hopefully see, that's pretty tedious, but it needs to be done. So I'll probably see you guys when I'm done with it, unless I need to update you about anything. Alright, so behold the Edger bike in all its naked glory. It's been shined up and taken out of bare metal for, I think, 99% of it. This didn't quite get it. I think it's close enough. One thing left to do before we're doing the Bondo, or really I could do it whenever, but there's places that I couldn't quite get with the wire wheel thing on the angle grinder. So I'll just brush all the junk out of those. Unfortunately, these rust spots keep coming back, so I don't want to say flash rust, but it almost is. And for the Bondo, what I'll be doing is obviously the holes that need to be plugged and some of the uglier looking welds. Like this is a beautiful weld. This one right here. So is this one. These not so much. I won't mess with those because the seat's gonna go on them. But like this is ugly as heck. It's gonna need some Bondo. Those are okay. This may need some. I mean, it's not really necessary, but I'd rather it look nice with paint on it than have some ugly, nasty welds with really nice paint. So get to that and start the Bondo. Alright, so one thing I forgot to mention that I forgot about for a second. Before I do the Bondo and after the wire brushing, I need to take some shop rags and clean this thing with, and I'm going to use acetone. So anywhere I'm going to put Bondo, I'm going to take a shop rag with acetone and wipe it off. Mainly just the holes and around some of the welds. So And I'm going to do this before I paint too as well, just to get all the dust particles, but I'm not going to do the whole frame until after I do the Bondo, because I got to sand the Bondo. This hole is one. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know how well it's going to go in there, because it's all nasty in there and I can't really get to it, but we'll see. These do not like the sharp edges, so try to be careful. Ow! I don't like the sharp edges either. I just dab. Just kidding. And I gotta do here as well. So I'm gonna fill that in. Honestly, I should have just filled it in welding and ground it down, but that's okay. So honestly, I don't think that the acetone really did much, because I had a hard time getting it on there without ripping the towel, but it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and mix up the Bondo. Now, I did go ahead and get a brand new thing of Bondo, like I said, because this old stuff it's been here for a day or so, and it's squishy, and that's not how it's supposed to be. So what you're supposed to do is knock that over. What you're supposed to do is get about a golf ball size and do an 1.25 inch strip of hardener. I'm gonna use a putty knife that I got for $1 at Home Depot. Get about double that, so, or I don't know, that might be more, about a golf ball size. That's probably all I need, so just a little bit more, and that should do it. I can't believe I did that. Wow, that feels much better than the other stuff, because the other stuff was like leaching through the plastic and it smelled horrible. And it was like half greasy, half solid. I'll do more like 1.5 inches, because it's a little bit bigger probably than golf ball size. So, I mean, not that I'm measuring exactly anyway. 1.5 inches, that'll be good. Now you're supposed to mix with one of these, because apparently if you don't want air bubbles, which I'm not too worried about that, but I prefer not to have them if I don't need to. Oh yeah, that's good. That looks pink, nice and pink. Just like Bondo's supposed to. The other stuff, as you can see, it's still gray. It didn't even turn pink. Yeah, so I would not recommend touching this with your hands. I did that, and it was very hard to get off, almost impossible. So, what we'll do, I think, is flip this over like that. Start with this piece. I'm trying to get everything mixed, but it's kind of difficult. So, just put some in there. Hopefully it'll stay. I don't know. It might have a hard time. Might be okay. It looks alright. I mean, it's not perfect, but it wasn't supposed to be perfect. I don't know, it's not doing as good a job as I thought it would. I'm gonna have to sand a lot of this stuff off, unfortunately, but that's how it goes. This one may not be too keen on it either. Wow, it's solid already. That's crazy. It's not supposed to do that. Wow, that cured really fast. Lesson learned. Don't make very much at a time. So I think I'm gonna wait until those cure, because I think I was actually supposed to sand the metal first, and maybe that's why it didn't stick too well. But if those turn out okay, then I'll keep going without sanding. But if not, I'm gonna have to come back and sand the metal first. But I think it'll probably work. It'll probably be okay. So it cured, I guess. I mean, it's not totally done. I may need to go over because it didn't quite get the contour I wanted. This one I think is okay. Yeah, that one's fine. I just need to mix up a little bit more, and my camera battery won't die this time, so I'll have a little bit more time to work with it before it goes completely. But I do think it's stuck okay, so that's fine. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit more. Hopefully it does it. Yeah, there we go. It's exactly what I want. I'll move on to this one. Smooth it out a little, but I want some, because it needs to be kind of a rounded shape. So I can't just not put that much, so do this one. Can't forget this one at the very front. There's two. I don't think Bondo is really meant to fill gaping holes like that, but that's what I'm using it for, so yeah. And wow, just enough Bondo. I didn't think I would run low, but I'm almost running low. I'm also making a huge mess. That's probably part of the reason. I'm probably going to end up doing one more because I want these to kind of round out maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going to have to do at least one more anyway because I didn't quite make that one. Alright, so while the Bondo is curing, I'm going to start sanding. So I've got a sort of makeshift sanding block right here. And I'm going to sand down anywhere I can find. Places like this where there's scratches, or I think this is raised from welding. We'll see. I'll start with something like 240 or maybe even lower, like 60, because I've got some 60, although that's pretty aggressive. So I think I'll start with this. I'm going to cut it in half because I don't need the whole length. There we go. Just need enough to cover the block. If you really want to, you could wet sand, but I'm not going to do that right now. And what I was saying about the paint, where I was going to sand in between every layer, apparently you don't have to actually do that. So only after the clear coat I'm going to sand. So actually Bondo, I think. Yeah, comes off real good. I made some scratches when I was grinding. If I can find them, I will, like this one, I'll sand them smooth. I don't know, it may not work too well, it may be too far gone, but yeah, see all these raised areas? Let me get that. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, and I'll get back to you guys when I start sanding the Bondo. You know what, now that I look at it, there aren't that many places that need sanding. Maybe this one. It's a little bit rough, but... And also, a lot of these are going to be covered by the seat, so it's not a huge deal if they look kind of bad. Mainly, I guess what I'm going to need to sand is the Bondo, and I'll probably start with 60 grit for that, and then we'll move up to like 600, I think. Or no, 240 and then 600, this is 240. I think I can start sanding it, because it's, at least here, where it's been there for a while, I can just sand away. It's going to take a little while, but I'll get it. Although it actually is cutting through it pretty easily, so that's good. It's like butter. You should probably wear a mask when doing this. I might do that. It's not that bad though, although I don't recommend not doing that. Yeah, this is working beautifully. Yeah, I'm gonna wear a mask. But yeah, I'll sand that down and I'll show you guys when I'm done. So I'm pretty much done, as you can see. I've got all these bondoed and sanded pretty well. Still got to go over it with a 600 grit. I'm going to go over the entire frame with 600 grit before the primer goes on. I had to add a little bit extra here because apparently there was a hole, so I have to wait for that to dry. By the time I get done sanding everything else with 600 grit, it should be dry. Okay, so you probably can't tell, but I've hit everything with 600 grit, and this thing right here is good. So it's about time to prime, I think. So what I'm planning on doing, if I can, is maybe hanging this from a tree by wire. That way I can do it all at once, because I really don't want to have to do two different times of painting, if you know what I mean. So what I'm thinking is right here, and I have a drop cloth so I can put it around here, and that'll keep the paint off of everything I don't want paint on. So I went ahead and masked off all the holes I don't want paint in, including all of those little tiny ones. And I decided what I'm going to do is put the string here and somewhere in here. That way there is a tiny bit that I'll have to repaint, but not much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang this, I'm going to prime it. You're supposed to do about 2 light coats of primer, and then for the top coat you have to do it within 45 minutes, otherwise you have to wait 4 hours. This one says you can recoat within 2 hours or after 48 hours. So we'll do all 3 coats pretty quickly. Leave enough time to dry. Not going to do 1 coat, wait 5 minutes, another coat, probably wait 15 or 20 minutes. And then we can do the clear. And that's what we'll sand. So yeah, let me get to hanging this thing on a tree. It's actually pretty balanced if you hold it by this second rung. What do y'all think? Isn't this pretty? Nice and shiny and everything. Well, like this, that'll be maybe a little bit too low. I need to have it high enough to bring it to the bottom. That should hold that end. Now we get this end. I think I'm gonna let it be just kind of loose instead of on the corner. There we go. That should just about do it. So there you have it, makeshift painting thing. So mainly this is just to keep paint off the fence and things that will be permanent if it gets paint on. Things like the grass I'm not too worried about because that can go away. Let's go ahead and start with some primer, I guess. And I know there's some areas that aren't great. I could probably go over them again like that, but it's good enough. And that's not going to be showing anyway, so I'm not too worried about that part. This is cool. It's finally going to be looking like a real thing. Alright, one more wipe down with a shop rag. You're technically supposed to use tack cloth for this, but I didn't want to spend like $10 for like 30 wipes because that's kind of ridiculous. So I'm just going to give it a good wipe over. It's like wiping a baby, except less messy. Because really you just don't want any dust on the thing because it'll keep the paint from sticking as well. But for the most part, it's already clean, so I don't have too much to worry about. The hardest part though, I think, is going to be actually getting full coverage because it's hard to see everything. Like when I was welding this, I missed one of these on one side, so it's easy to miss. So what you're supposed to do is get the hard spots first, so I'll get around the welds and then I'll get the rest of it. So we've got primer. It says to shake it for a minute after the ball starts rattling, and I was like, what do you mean after the ball starts rattling? But then I shook it and the ball didn't rattle for like a good 30 seconds. So I'm gonna shake it. All right, here we go. The directions say to hold the thing 10 to 12 inches away from the thing. So I guess that's what I'll do. Start, I guess around here. I don't know, this is awesome. So about like that. Yeah. Alright, so I think I can actually take and move this slightly because this is dry to the touch, although I don't want to damage it, so I think I'll leave it. Alright, so here we go. We got the base coat coming now. We got to shake this for a minute and then we can start. Alright, so this time I think I will try to start with the difficult parts first and then go over the easy parts, just so I don't have too much spray on everything. So I'll start with the bottom. Just because of the way it goes on, it's pretty thin. Or maybe it's the way I'm doing it, I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully I have enough. If I need to, I'll go back and buy more. I hope not. You know what would have been cool? I mean, I don't want to do it now, but there's these metallic paints that you can do that put a metallic layer first, and then you do a like semi-clear color like this one, and it looks kind of metallic. That would have been a neat color. Maybe for another project. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes and I've got a few runs, I think. That might actually be Bondo, but I'm not going to worry about it. Or it could actually be welds and Bondo. I'm not going to worry about it because that doesn't need to be perfect. It's not a car body. If it was, it wouldn't have welds on the outside anyway. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to do the clear and then figure out how long I need to wait before I can sand it. You can probably see right there, some of those aren't totally covered, but I'm going to leave it because I need a little bit so I can cover those, and I might paint the swing arms red also. I'm not totally sure yet, but I'm not going to paint those until I know for sure if I'm going to weld a piece in between, so that's why I'm waiting on that. But let's go ahead and do the clear. This is going to be a lot harder to keep track of where I have and have not put it because it's clear, obviously. Alright, cool. I think we're done. So that's the clear coat. Now, okay, so it's dry to handle in 1 hour, fully dry in 24 hours. So we probably wait a day to polish and buff it out. So for now though, let's take all these little paint things out, if we can get to them without touching the rest of it. Or maybe we'll just wait, I don't know. These could come off, I believe, yeah. These are fine. Yeah, that's gonna look great. So excited. Oh yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's a huge burden off of me right now, because the main thing I was worried about was rust. And now that it's painted, there's virtually no way that it's gonna rust. Alright, so it's been about an hour, and supposedly this is now safe to touch and handle, which it seems like. It's pretty dry, and yeah. You can see the clear coat's not perfectly smooth. That's okay. I expected that. We're gonna have to wet sand this anyway, and then buff it out by hand, because I don't have a buffer and I didn't want to pay $30 for a buffer for one thing. If I ever do more paint in the future, like a bigger project like a car or truck or something, then I could see that, but not for this. Let's take it down and bring it over, and we'll paint these spots. If there's any other spots that we missed that we need to touch up, we'll do that as well. Yeah, as you can see, it's kind of made some exposed spots right there, as well as in here. It's pretty bad, so have to cover that. Alright, so it's been a few days. I just haven't gotten around to it, but today we're going to do some wet sanding and some buffing. Obviously this isn't the greatest paint job in the world, but I want it to at least be shiny, and it's somewhat shiny right now, so if we sand and buff it, it should be even better. So what I've got is this 3M stuff. It's got 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 grit and some water. After that, I've got some buffing compound. Do that by hand after the sanding. So what I'm thinking about is taking all the pipe pieces, including this one, doing those, and leaving all the mounting pieces because they're going to have something mounted to them. So there's really no point in sanding them, and it might look cooler to have those individually look different. So, and I don't feel like painting them again because I don't want to spend $10 on more paint. So we got, what do we got? This is wet dry sandpaper, by the way, so it is water wettable, if that's the word you use. But we'll start with the 1,000 grit, which is actually pretty fine already. So wow, 2,000 grit feels almost like soft paper. So we'll go ahead and set these aside for now. Get this wet and in some water, and we'll get to sanding. I'll show you guys a little bit, and then I'll cut to the next grit after I show you what it looks like. I've also got some shop towels out again to wipe it off afterwards. So realistically, I should probably take some of these and get some coarser sandpaper. I might do that to get these paint runs, but I don't know. You know, for that section, I think I will, because it's such a nice section, although it's going to cut through the clear, so I don't know. We'll figure something out. And I'll tell you what, we'll do 240 grit on that, just because I want it to look nice. Actually, fingernail works good. Oh, now it's is it white? I think I may have gotten down to the, yeah, I got down to primer on that. Well, that sucks. But there's another one there that also has that, so that'll just be a factory defect. I don't know. It's fine. It's not, you're not going to see that part much anyway, so I think I'll leave the other ones because I don't want that to happen. We'll just proceed with sanding. Let's start from top to bottom, I guess. Do the seat first. And I've got my spray bottle. I mean, I know you're supposed to do that. I don't know how much it matters, but wet the whole area. That feels counterintuitive because the whole point of painting was to prevent rust, but now that it is painted, it doesn't rust when you get it wet, I guess. So spray this whole thing down. And you're supposed to use a block, but I don't want to do that on the round parts, really. I can do this. Seems to be working. I don't know how well. We'll see. You don't want to push too hard either. So just kind of gently, just do lightly a little bit, just to knock down mainly the parts that look like little tiny water droplets. Not the actual water droplets, but in the clear coat itself there are some parts that look like tiny water droplets. I really don't know how much sanding I'm supposed to do, but I'm just gonna do it until I think it's good. I don't know. Cool. So this is after 1,000 grit. I already wiped it down. There was white streaks from the clear coat, but it's not a whole lot smoother yet or shinier, but it will as it progresses, and especially when we do the final buff. For this part, I tried doing the bottom without flipping it. I don't want to flip it because I don't want to mess up the paint that's already there. But there's all these metal shavings on the ground, so I think I'm going to skip the bottom. I'm just going to do the top because you're not really going to see that anyway. And it's going to get scraped up too. So, but yeah, so far so good. I'll see you guys when I'm done with all 4 grits, I think. All right, went all the way up to 2,500 grit. Wiped it off in between every time so it didn't scratch. And I'm done. And now I need to buff it by hand, which is going to be a fun job, but that's okay. So what I've got here are some staining pads, which are terry cloth, which you can apply. It's set on the back somewhere. Well, there's the description on the website said it's also good for applying wax and stuff. So I'm going to use these as well as this Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. I'll put links in the description for both of these, but you can also find them at Home Depot. That's where I got them. So yeah. Alright, so it says to shake it and then start with a small amount on one section, overlapping strokes, circular motion, and wipe it off for a clean finish. So we'll go ahead and do that. Obviously it helps if you take off this little thing. That's probably way too much, but okay. I'll spread it out a little bit here, there, there. That's probably good. And we'll start and see how it goes. Circular motion. It's going to take a while, so I'm just going to have to be patient. That's working good. As you can see, it's already pretty shiny. It's not perfect that I haven't wiped off all this yet, and these are still a little bit dull from the sanding, but still, it looks better already. Alright, as you can see, this process has made a pretty bad paint job into a halfway decent one. It's shiny, it's nice and smooth, as you can see. Obviously some spots I didn't get good coverage with the paint, and if I'd bought 2 cans instead, as in the bird, it would have been fine. But that's it, that's the paint job. I'll probably end up having to buy more paint anyway because I still have the swing arms. I might decide to paint them black though, so we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the progression of this project. Shiny. But yeah, leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more projects, including this one. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.